the stage lights came up, the entire studio audience, like, completely held their breath.
Mm.
And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Oh, it was, I mean, I literally got chills watching it. You could feel the emotion just radiating through the screen.
You really could. And today, we are talking about Kellie Pickler's first interview after Kyle Jacobs' death and the incredible life she is rebuilding.
It is such a powerful story, and honestly, one of the most resilient comebacks we have seen in years.
Absolutely. Welcome to StarScope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today is Tuesday, May 12, 2026. Now, I know everyone is still buzzing because the 24th season of American Idol just wrapped up its massive finale last night.
Right, the internet is going crazy over the new winner.
But if we're being honest, the most compelling story to come out of that studio actually happened a week ago.
Yeah, the emotional, triumphant return of class of 2006 alum Kellie Pickler. She is finally reclaiming the spotlight after a 3-year hiatus.
And we have a massive stack of sources today to unpack this. We're looking at recent podcast interviews, entertainment news coverage, property records, and even some legal reports.
Which, spoiler alert, those legal reports contain a twist that is just heartbreaking. But our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly how a public figure navigates sudden, unimaginable grief.
By tracking Kellie's journey from this absolute tragedy back to the stage, we are going to uncover the profound wisdom in choosing stillness, over the modern pressure to make a public spectacle of your pain.
Before we really get into the timeline, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and deep dives, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead in this episode.
So let's start with the event itself, May 4, 2026. American Idol hosted this big Class of 2006 reunion episode.
Right, and this was Kellie's first major television appearance since losing her husband in 2023. And she didn't just walk out and do the whole, beauty queen wave to the crowd.
No, she delivered an absolute powerhouse duet of Martina McBride's A Broken Wing. She sang it alongside season 24 finalist Hannah Harper.
And the symbolism there is just heavy. I mean, A Broken Wing is the exact same song Kellie used for her original Idol audition 20 years ago.
Wow, 20 years.
Yeah. So she's standing next to this young finalist who's just starting out, singing the very lyrics that launched her own life 2 decades prior.
According to the entertainment coverage, Lionel Richie was visibly moved at the judges' table. He praised their perfect voice blend.
But the real gut punch was what she said right after she finished. She walked off the stage and simply said, "Good to be home."
Just 3 words.
Just 3 words, but they carry so much psychological weight. And she actually elaborated on that feeling a couple of days later. On May 6, she did her first interview in 3 years on the American Idol official podcast with Danielle Fishel.
Right, the official podcast. And she noted that she feels very blessed, describing Idol as this literal family reunion where we take care of each other.
And I love this detail from the interview. She brought up the fact that she still keeps her old chocolate milkshake-stained apron from her days working as a waitress at Sonic.
Wait, she kept the Sonic apron? That is amazing.
Right, from before she ever even auditioned. And psychologically, clinging to that apron is a beautiful detail because it represents a tangible tether to her past.
Yeah, I totally see that. When a core part of your identity is abruptly severed, in her case, her identity as a wife and a creative partner, you experience this intense state of untethering.
It makes me think of, returning to your childhood home after a massive hurricane has leveled the rest of your city.
Oh, that is a really good analogy.
You go back to the very bedrock of your life to find your footing. Going back to American Idol, holding on to that Sonic apron, it proves to her nervous system that a foundational version of herself still exists.
Exactly. The brain desperately needs proof of survival. By returning to the genesis of her career, she anchored herself.
But wait till you hear what came next, because to truly grasp the bravery of her singing on that stage last week, we have to rewind.
We have to look at the storm that grounded her in the first place.
Right. And you cannot understand the depth of the tragedy without understanding the incredibly public, deeply intertwined life she built with Kyle Jacobs.
So let's lay out the timeline. They met at a Nashville bar in 2008 through mutual friends.
And by June 15, 2010, they were engaged. And the way he proposed was it was incredibly intentional.
Yeah, he chose June 15 specifically because it was Kellie's late grandmother's birthday.
Which was historically a day filled with grief for her.
Right. And he proposed on a beach in Rosemary Beach, Florida. He hid the ring inside a wooden box that looked like it had washed ashore, along with a handwritten journal and an inscribed shell.
He actively rewrote the narrative of a painful day for her turning it into a day of joy.
It was a deeply intentional partnership right from the start. And their wedding choices reflected that too. They rejected the typical celebrity machinery.
Yeah, instead of a massive, heavily sponsored Nashville wedding, which they totally could have done, they eloped in Antigua on January 1st, 2011.
Choosing an intimate elopement over a PR spectacle really signaled early on that they wanted to protect the core of their relationship from the industry.
And their honeymoon choices reinforced that entirely. I mean, they didn't go to a luxury resort in the Maldives. They spent their honeymoon in Baghdad, Iraq.
On a USO tour performing for the troops.
Exactly. And that was just the first of 11 tours they would do together in combat zones. That shared commitment tells you so much about their values.
They were a deeply integrated professional team because Kyle wasn't just, Kellie Pickler's husband. He was a heavyweight in that professional sphere.
Oh, absolutely. He was a highly sought-after songwriter and producer.
According to Billboard, he co-wrote Garth Brooks's More Than a Memory, which made history by becoming the first song ever to debut at #1 on the Hot Country Songs chart.
And he produced massive platinum hits for Lee Brice, too. Songs like Hard to Love and I Drive Your Truck.
The pressure of operating at that elite level of the Nashville hit-making machine is just immense. You are expected to constantly produce magic.
And on top of that grueling studio schedule, they became literal reality TV stars. They starred in a CMT show called I Love Kellie Pickler for 3 seasons, from 2015 to 2017.
Which was basically just a show showcasing their joyful, goofy, deeply loving marriage.
Yeah, they proudly referred to themselves as dog parents after having to rehome their cat Pickles because of Kyle's allergies. It was this very relatable, highly visible brand of happiness.
But the danger of building a public persona entirely around joy and laughter is that it leaves absolutely no room for darkness.
Right. And later in this deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming. Because looking at the reality of what happened, the darkness was profound.
On February 17, 2023, Kyle Jacobs died by a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the upstairs office of their shared Nashville home. He was 49 years old.
Kellie woke up, realized he wasn't in bed, and began searching the house. When she and her assistant couldn't open the locked office door, they called 911.
The details from the medical and toxicology reports paint a devastatingly complex picture of what was actually happening behind closed doors.
Because there were no illicit drugs in his system.
None. But his medical history included gastrointestinal bleeding, elevated liver enzymes, chronic alcohol use, and a history of pseudo-seizures.
Okay, I really want to pause on that. Pseudo-seizures, what exactly is that?
It is a critical piece of the psychological puzzle. In the medical field, these are known as psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, or PNES.
So how is that different from a standard seizure?
Well, unlike epileptic seizures, which are caused by electrical misfires in the brain, pseudo-seizures are physical convulsions triggered by severe, overwhelming psychological distress or trauma.
Wow. So it's the body physically short-circuiting because the mind literally cannot handle the emotional pain anymore.
Precisely. It is a physical manifestation of an unbearable internal burden. The body essentially just shuts down to cope with the stress.
I want to push back on this a bit because it challenges how we consume celebrity media. We have this illusion of absolute transparency today. I mean, they literally starred in a reality television show based on their happy marriage. Millions of people watch them be in love.
Yeah.
Yet off camera, he is suffering from physical convulsions due to extreme psychological distress.
It makes me wonder, was the public joy just a complete fabrication?
I wouldn't call it a fabrication at all, honestly. The love, the connection, that was likely very genuine. The trap isn't that the joy was fake. The trap is that the brand only allowed for joy.
Ah, I see.
When your income, your public identity, and your daily narrative are entirely built on being the happy couple, the cognitive dissonance of private suffering becomes suffocating. You aren't just managing an illness, you are managing a narrative.
Right, the gap between what the public thinks they know about you and the agonizing reality of what is actually happening in your living room.
And when that gap violently snaps shut, the surviving partner is left navigating not just immense personal grief, but the bewilderment of the public.
Because everyone is demanding an explanation.
Yeah.
The tragedy shatters the parasocial relationship the audience thought they had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes Kellie's next move so fascinating. Facing this abrupt shattering of her reality under the blinding glare of the media, Kellie had to figure out what to do.
And her survival strategy actually came from a piece of advice given to her by Kyle himself years earlier.
Before we get into that strategy, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because her response to all of this is incredibly countercultural.
It really is. So months after his passing, when she finally released a brief statement to the press, she shared the words Kyle had given her. He said, "In a moment of crisis, if you don't know what to do, do nothing. Just be still."
Do nothing, just be still. And she honored that fiercely. She stepped completely away from the public eye.
She left her daily hosting gig on Sirius XM. She stopped updating social media. She essentially vanished into her private life.
And like you said, this decision is incredibly countercultural. In a modern media landscape that demands the immediate monetization of trauma,
Oh, absolutely.
where a public figure is expected to sit down for a tell-all interview within weeks or launch a podcast about their healing journey, choosing absolute silence is an act of rebellion.
It's the emotional equivalent of stepping into a sensory deprivation tank.
That is a great way to put it.
Think about how a float tank works. You are enclosed in pitch blackness, floating in salt water at skin temperature with zero sound. You eliminate all external stimuli so that your nervous system stops reacting to threats.
It finally has the space to reset.
Exactly. Kellie put herself in a psychological sensory deprivation tank.
Well-
Our society demands you process your pain out loud. We expect the long, curated Instagram caption. We expect the immediate PR statement.
And she actively refused to perform her grief for the public. She cut off the external noise so she could actually hear her own thoughts.
And by refusing to perform her grief, she protected it. She allowed herself to move through the necessary, entirely nonlinear phases of trauma without an audience scrutinizing her mourning process.
But it is important to note that she wasn't entirely frozen during those 3 years of stillness. Behind the scenes, she was taking very deliberate steps to close painful physical chapters.
Yeah, according to property records, in May 2024, she finalized the sale of their Nashville home.
This was the custom-built Tudor-style house where Kyle passed away.
They had originally purchased it back in 2010 for just over $1.4 million, and she sold it for $2.3 million.
Selling the physical site of the trauma is a deeply necessary step for many survivors. It is the literal unburdening of a space that holds too much heavy memory.
You cannot heal in the exact environment where your world ended.
No, you can't.
But the unburdening wasn't just physical. As she was trying to maintain this quiet sanctuary of stillness, she was violently pulled into a legal battle.
And that's not even the wildest part. In late 2025, Kellie was forced to defend herself against a subpoena from Kyle's own parents, Reed and Sharon Jacobs.
Right. They legally demanded possession of his personal property.
It is an incredibly heartbreaking reality of sudden deaths, especially in the music industry. You are dealing with high-value intellectual property, unreleased recordings, and valuable personal items.
Grief has a terrible way of fracturing families, and that fracture often ends up playing out in a courtroom. The parents were essentially challenging her rights to his estate.
But look at how Kellie handled it. The court ultimately sided with her, officially declaring the parents' subpoena unusual on its face and completely unenforceable.
The judge looked at the filing and immediately saw it lacked legal merit.
But she didn't leak this victory to TMZ or the tabloids. She didn't go on a press tour to defend her reputation or drag her in-laws' names through the mud.
She quietly fought the battle, secured the legal victory, and protected his legacy entirely in private. She maintained the perimeter of her sensory deprivation tank.
She did not let the drama bait her into a public spectacle.
And she also made one quiet, deeply personal public appearance before this recent Idol reunion. It was back in April 2024, over a year after Kyle's death.
Right. She performed at a Patsy Cline tribute at the historic Ryman Auditorium in Nashville.
The Ryman is known as the Mother Church of country music. The weight of performing there is immense on a normal day.
And she was visibly nervous walking out to the microphone, but she delivered a beautiful performance of a song called The Woman I Am.
And that song choice, much like A Broken Wing, was incredibly deliberate. She and Kyle had co-written The Woman I Am over a decade earlier.
Before she sang, she spoke briefly to the crowd. She noted that the last time she had been at the Ryman was on a date night with Kyle. She simply said, "He is here with us tonight."
It was a moment of honoring him through their shared language, which is music. She didn't give a sweeping speech about trauma. She simply let the song they created together do the talking.
This deliberate, fiercely protective stillness over the last 3 years is exactly what allowed the dust to finally settle.
It gave her the actual grounded footing to step back into the bright television lights on her own timeline last week.
Kellie Pickler's journey is a masterclass in resilience. From the dizzying, high-pressure heights of reality television and country music stardom to the suffocating depths of sudden loss, she proved something we desperately need to remember.
which is that healing does not adhere to an audience's schedule. You do not owe the world a live stream of your debris.
You really don't.
And that brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. We all face moments when our plans shatter. Think about Kyle's profound advice. In a moment of crisis, if you don't know what to do, do nothing. Just be still.
It sounds incredibly simple, but it goes against every instinct we have been taught in the digital age.
We all struggle with this. When something goes wrong in our lives, whether it's a massive career setback, a sudden breakup, or a personal tragedy, our immediate instinct is to rush to fix it.
We text 5 friends, we post a vague status update, we scramble to control the narrative.
We fill the void with frantic action because stillness feels too much like vulnerability.
We equate doing nothing with giving up, when in reality, doing nothing is often the only way to let the nervous system realize it is safe.
So the next time your world gets turned upside down, consider challenging that instinct. What if you resisted the urge to immediately react or broadcast the pain?
What if you simply allowed yourself to sit in the quiet and be completely still until the actual path forward revealed itself?
Because sometimes the most powerful way to survive the shattering of your world is to just let it be quiet.
Beautifully said.
You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.